Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sights on Sinnoh, episode 62, as we reach the end of Battle Dimension. With me this
Battle
week,
Dimension Pokemon is done.
it's over. It's been a journey, and as you can tell, with me this week, I'm joined by Greg.
Hello.
And also Carina.
Hi.
So, very appropriately, you two were here for the start of Battle Dimension.
Yep.
And you're here to see it off. Right before we jump into the episode, how do you feel the journey was, briefly, from what we started with to this last episode here?
I feel like not a lot happened this season.
Just the least. I mean, it started out like real strong, and boy, did it end with a fizzle.
Fizzle is a good word for it. I felt fizzle with that episode.
Shit.
Oofa doofa.
Yeah, I can relate. There's definitely some fizzle vibes. And there's a lot of like what if moments that come to mind.
Yep.
And I'm sure this episode is going to be a great entrance for that as we get into the plot of it, because oh boy, it's a season finale. And
I can't believe this is how they ended it.
yeah,
Like, season 1 was very dramatic and full of things, and things happened like you would expect from a season finale, and then
Right.
Yeah, I was on just to discuss the last episode, and I was like, I can't believe they just had a filler episode for the penultimate episode of the season, and I just watched this, and I was like, I can't believe they had a filler episode for the finale, ?
Yeah, and you wouldn't think, given the title of this episode, which in English is Sleepless in Pre-Battle, but in Japanese is
So mad.
Cresselia vs. Darkrai.
Oh, mad at that title.
And the blurb for this episode reads, Ash arrives at the Canalave gym only to hear bad news. The gym leader is away on Iron Island, and the locals are all sleep deprived due to horrible nightmares.
Can I just say, at least Ash has the self-awareness to be like, why are there never any gym leaders in the gyms?
What is wrong with Sinnoh that none of the gym leaders want to do the job that they
It's
are
only
hired
two!
for? That they're supposed to be there for? Because none of these people are around.
It's just Fantina and this dude. It just feels like more because they went to Heart Home like 5 times and Fantina wasn't there. This starts off with them reaching the gym. There's a scream and this person comes out. I don't think we ever get their name, but the closed captions for me said one thing. So I'd like to compare with Carina to see if she got the same memo from her closed captions.
My closed captions said pupil.
Yes, mine did too. Okay. So okay. It's an odd choice, but I guess we'll go with it. The pupil comes out, says that gym leader is on Iron Island, so Ash is, again, as you guys mentioned, disappointed to see gym leaders are just not doing their jobs. And
I will say this: I honestly thought it was a cold opening because the opening was so weird. I thought surely they've gone back to cold opening, because for the credits they go up and Ash is like, "Why is nobody here?" And then there's just a scream, and then it cuts to opening, and I'm like, this has to be a cold opening because this makes no sense. Nope, that's the show.
Yep, that's it.
Some dude inside couldn't sleep, but was asleep in the middle of the day. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, he says he's been trying to sleep, but every time he gets a nightmare, like he tries to sleep right there in front of them and wakes up immediately screaming again. And then they're like, all right, well, we'll just wait for him to get back. They leave the gym and walk around the shopping center, which Brock says, oh, this is weird. Like, it's all closed. And the guide says that this is supposed to be the busiest part. So then he goes over to Officer Jenny because he sees a police station. He's like, oh, yes, good. We have Officer Jenny at least.
somebody has to stay behind to protect all the shops.
It's an odd choice, but this also it points to another weird thing about this city that we'll get to in a second. They like go inside. He saves Jenny from like
From
falling back in her
backwards.
chair.
You know,
Yeah,
deadly. They fall from 50-foot stories and get blown up by hyper beams, but Jenny can't survive a 2-foot fall backwards on a chair. It happens in offices every day.
Oh man, that workers' comp though. This is where they're like, "Hey Jenny, what's going on here?" And she says, "For some strange reason, people have been having nightmares." And then, like 2 lines later, Ash asks, "Do you know what's causing them?" And she says, "Yes, it's a Darkrai." And I'm like, "But you just said you don't know. You said like for some odd reason. What's happening here?"
Okay, yeah. Can I also just like fast forward to the end of the episode because nothing happens between now and then anyway. But at the end, they're like, "Why is Darkrai here? Why is Cresselia here? This is so strange." And it's like, but you had an explanation for it. Why are you confused now?
Yeah.
Well, but she just after Jen's like, they're early. How early? A day? A week? A month? What is early?
Yeah. She describes it like a seasonal thing. It happens annually or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's like it's an annual occurrence. It happens every year, but not at this time? Or is it like 2 or 3 days off? Because if it's going off of the lunar cycle, that doesn't stay the same every year.
Like maybe they do.
It's just early enough that they can accept that it's a thing, but still be confused about it being a thing.
Right.
So it's gotta be like a week, right? Like that's like feels like a week.
Sure.
Yeah.
We can go with a week.
And people are gone. Like everyone immediately is like, "Oh, it came early. I guess we're gonna leave." Like
It came early. We can't sleep for 2 days, so bye.
Yeah.
We're gonna abandon all of our shops and homes and just leave.
I'm guessing they're like, this is what people do in the East Coast or something, where it's like, "Oh yeah, it's winter. I'm gonna leave for this season or whatever," and so everyone's used to that. But then we cut to what Team Rocket's up to, and there's people there. So
well, I mean, they have to. She's like, "Oh no, this lunar wing should be saving me." And did I miss Dawn getting a lunar wing earlier?
That's a great question, Greg. And I'm going to ask Carina first. Do you remember where Dawn got this lunar wing from?
You enlighten us, Will.
Okay. She got it during the Darkrai movie.
Okay, they did it again. Why did they do this?
Yeah.
So
this episode,
I thought like, okay, I remember the Darkrai movie, and I remember that happening there, but they don't mix them, or they're not supposed to be mixing them. So I missed where in the series I got it, but no, it was during the movie, and you brought it in again. The thing you're not supposed to do.
I'll also be totally honest and say the only thing I remembered from the Darkrai movie was Darkrai's legs, which we got to see again in this episode.
We did. There are multiple references in this episode that make that movie in continuity, for sure. The lunar wing being the first of it, because they're just like in the market and she just buys it as a souvenir. And it's like a throwaway moment, but here's like, oh no, she kept it. Like that episode happened. They went to that town, which kind of contradicts the bigger overarching plot of this series because of Dialga and Palkia, but that's a whole other discussion. But Jenny is like, oh yeah, I got one too. And Brock takes a look and he's like, no, it's a Pidgeywing actually. That's been painted and it's a forgery. So Jenny is immediately upset by this and doesn't mention anything about like, this is a crime. She's just kind of mad and leaves to go to that shop where...
I mean, she highly...
I don't know.
She screams it's arresting time and runs out of the office, which
Yeah.
I kind of want all security people to do from now on. Like, I want to report a robbery. It's arresting time, and then actually go do something. Please make that a real life thing.
That's gotta be a t-shirt.
That needs to be Jenny's catchphrase from now
yeah.
on. Just it's arresting time.
Hey, it's been a while. She needs a catchphrase. Like, come on, 11 seasons. So she gets there, and all these people are fighting to get the last lunar wing, quote unquote. And Team Rocket in disguise is there. Is like, oh, don't worry, we'll go make some more. And they're immediately like, wait, what did you say?
I mean, fine.
Oh, you didn't hear that?
Fine, some more. Move.
Yeah, you mean by making? We mean like put the necklace thing around it. Yeah, that. Like, okay.
Yeah, nice save, Jesse. That was a close one.
That was a close one. I mean, they bought it. They're all tired. And where did are these the only 5 people left in town?
Yes.
Apparently, them and Officer Jenny. And then they reveal their plot, just like to no one in particular.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, we have this nightmare machine.
And here's how we make. And, okay, why are they explaining it to themselves? Because in about 2 seconds, they should realize why that was the dumbest thing they've ever done.
Because literally, standing right outside is Officer Jenny, who says, "I heard everything." Okay, why do we have this plot here? Like, what's the point? Like, and they're blasted off almost immediately with Ash saying, like, "See you in jail," basically, but then blast them off. So that's not happening.
And Ash is like, Pikachu, blow them out of the sky so they can't possibly be caught. Like, Officer Jenny is there to actually do the job of finally arresting these criminals. And Ash is like, blow everything up. Blow it up.
Destroy the evidence.
Blow it up. Send these criminals flying into space and evade capture once again.
Okay, but Ash is like really trigger happy on the Thunderbolt in this episode. Because
he is.
Fast forwarding again, he's like, they get captured by Team Rocket, and he's like, Pikachu, Thunderbolt! And I was like, really? And Brock is like, really? And he does it, and it doesn't turn out the way he wants it to. Surprise, surprise.
I mean, it's because he's got performance anxiety of the gym that he couldn't take on.
Fair.
He's eager to get it out. But yeah, that wraps this up. They destroy the machine. They break the fourth wall as they're blasting off. And Jenny's like, now we'll all go get some quality sleep. And she basically offers them a room at the police station.
Is the Pokemon Center closed?
Nurse Joy probably ran away because she was having nightmares.
They're in a town with a gym. Why are you putting them up in your crappy back room of literally the tiniest building? When they show the outside, it is like a postage stamp compared to all of the other clearly empty buildings around them. Oh,
right.
Jenny, what are your life choices?
She makes dinner for them, and they're like, oh, wow, this is really good. And then Don's like, all right, I'm getting sleepy. So they all go to bed. And we see shadows moving outside near the place where Team Rocket had their whole business tent setup thing. And we see that Ash is now in a nightmare, which involves a weird gooey floor absorbing Pikachu and him diving in to try and save the Pikachu, or his Pikachu.
Can I just say, I thought it was like kind of sweet that his like worst nightmare is Pikachu falling into a pit.
Aww. That's true. I do like that. Greg, were you say something?
His worst nightmare being saved by Ash, so
I guess that's one way of looking at it, but what I got from this is another reference to the Darkrai movie, because this exact same situation happens in that movie when Ash gets hit by Dark Void and he has to try to save Pikachu. And like almost moment to moment, exactly the same as what we saw in that. So, and again, like, all right, it looks like that Darkrai movie is definitely in continuity and definitely happened to our heroes. Everyone wakes up, including Dawn, Brock, Officer Jenny, which to me says that lunar wing that Dawn has might also be a fake.
Yeah.
Because if she's having nightmares, like, what's happening?
Yeah, I don't. There's a whole lot of plot weirdness, or like they also seem because they also seem to suggest later that it's not fresh enough.
I didn't get that, but I can see that now. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, but they don't really address it too much. Like, it would have been neither, I think, if they'd just been like, oh yeah, Dawn didn't have a nightmare, or like she didn't really feel it, or something. But then Jenny's like, well, we have to go find Cresselia, so let's go to Full Moon Island. And they just jump on the police boat and in the middle of the night go to this completely dark island.
Also, why didn't Officer Jenny do this before? Why?
She was asleep.
Like, before they blasted off Team Rocket?
This has apparently been happening for a while. If everybody left, you know where the island is. Why didn't you go get Cresselia? Why did you just sort of stick around for these yokels to show up?
Right. And she also mentions that this happens. This is a recurring event. But then when they get to the island, she doesn't really know where to go. So apparently they've just been lazing around and like, oh, well, Cresselia's going to show up, I guess. We don't know the logistics of it all. But now that like Darkrai's here without Cresselia, we have to freak out and go find this Pokemon. So they get to the island, dock in this weird cave, and make their way up, where they find a fresh lunar wing, as Craig would put it, because Brock describes that this wing was evidence that Cresselia's recently been here. So they just gotta find the altar where Jenny says that Cresselia likes to perch when it arrives on the island. So, what's the best Pokemon for the job here?
Piplup. Piplup just wants to be seen in this episode. Piplup has had zero to do.
Yeah, and Piplup is the most interesting character.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, throw him in there.
Yeah, do something.
What does Piplup do here, Carina?
Piplup tries so hard. Piplup is like, don't worry, I got it. I have the scent. Let me do this. So like Piplup starts sniffing along the ground like an adorable little sniffer penguin and like follows a scent to a rock and is like, this is it. Cresselia is behind this rock and a Psyduck pops out from the rock and everyone is like, Piplup, please.
Piplup, please be better than this. You're our only hope to make this episode interesting.
Do you think they chose Psyduck because Cresselia is a space duck, and Piplup got a similar scent from Psyduck?
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
So Dawn's like, all right, let me bring out the Pokemon that's really had nothing to do this season, and Swinub comes out, which is like, oh my god, this is perfect. Swinub's all about smell. And she's like, all right, use Odor Sleuth or whatever on this wing and take us to where it is. And Swinub's like, yay, I get to be useful for once. And very adorable. So they start following it and find their way pretty quickly to the altar.
Okay. Officer Jenny knew where the altar was. Why did they need to find the scent to get there?
Well, that's the thing. Like, apparently she didn't know because
she's like, "Oh, the altar is over there on the moon. We gotta go." And then they get there, and she's like, "Look, I don't know, kids. I'm making this up as I go. I scream arresting time. I didn't bother to arrest anybody. I got duped by a bunch of people selling fake wings. Look, I'm on a small island. There's no crime. It's a cushy job. I'm a clone. What do you want?"
I feel like
She got luck of the draw
I feel
here.
like a recurring theme of this episode is that like the knowledge that characters have just floats in and out of their heads depending on what is convenient for the plot at that particular moment, and it's infuriating.
And speaking of floating in and out, up above, in the sky, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Space Duck, as this like aurora rainbow kind of parts the clouds, and a glowing Cresselia descends upon the island to the altar. And Brock, giving us the most insightful line, is like, I can't believe that's a Cresselia.
And just to make sure, Dawn pulls out her Pokedex to just make extra sure that it's a Cresselia.
Sure. We're at the altar. It's got the wings. Brock just said it. And meanwhile, in the sea, 3 other people said it because Team Rocket is here because they are.
Right, they're like, oh yeah, we heard Cresselia's here, so let's go catch it. It's a very rare Pokemon. Why wasn't this, like... I just wish they at least connected this to their other plan, this Nightmare Machine, but the Nightmare Machine's like the real plan that's going to draw Cresselia to the island and cause it to want to save people, so that way we can actually just wait here and catch this Cresselia. But no, they're just like, oh yeah, let's just switch to this thing. It's just no relation to anything else that they've been doing. And Meowth launches a net cannon thing, which just extremely easily captures
everybody.
Yeah, so they have all this time to watch Meowth pull out this crazy cannon, shoot it way up in the sky, explode like a set of fireworks, and then gradually fall down, and somehow trap them in a way that they couldn't just, like, lift the net off.
Yeah.
They all stood under them for the rest of the episode.
And they can clearly use their hands. This is the thing.
Right.
That is so confusing. They are all trapped under a net, but they also have free use of their hands at all times.
Right. They have all their Pokemon with them.
But we only need Swinub.
Get Grovel out here.
Why do that?
Right, it's all up to Swinub.
When you can use a Thunderbolt when everybody's under the net, because that's a good idea. And
Ash is, of course, just here to electrocute himself under the net with Pikachu.
Good.
Team Rocket's like, yeah, what were you thinking? Like, we also have this weird knowledge issue, and this time remember to insulate the net so you can't shock us through it or something. So with everything going according to plan, they start to charge on in and try to grab Pikachu when Swinub comes to the rescue and knocks away the hand using Takedown. So Don's like, all right, Swinub, use Takedown. And Swinub goes for it. Like,
yeah, for the next 5 hours is a cutscene of Swinub doing the same move, hitting the same hand, but in slightly different camera positions.
Yeah, I was like, how A, does he have enough PP for this takedown, and B, how is he not dead from all of these takedowns?
Yeah, how does he have enough life?
The recoil, right?
Yeah, like they show the recoil, but they show it like again and again and again and again.
And
like,
Dawn is getting.
Dawn, I don't think this move.
You have other moves, Dawn.
Dawn, please pick anything else.
Oh my gosh! Like you have Dig, you have Ice Shard. Like, come on. But instead, she gets very emotional about this, and she's like, "No, stop, Swinub. That's enough."
Stop, you're hurting yourself, and I'm not going to call another move, though. Please stop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what to do. Even though I, as your trainer, do tell you what to do on a regular basis, at this one point, I'm just going to cry and let you do this move that is constantly hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Because an exhausted Swinub is like, all right, I'm near death. Now's my moment to shine.
Well, can you blame them? They have had very little moment to shine in this season.
Valid.
But yeah, at this point, Meowth is like, well, if you're not going to listen to her, let me help you out, and gives Swinub like a proper smack with his big Magikarp machine hand thing, which was sad.
Yeah.
Very brutal. And Swinub, in response to this, does not give up. So, using its power and using its willpower, it starts to evolve. And here we get Piloswine and a Pokedex entry from Dawn.
Yep. Both hands on that Pokedex.
And like the holes in the net are also big enough for a Pokeball, so like you have no excuse. So this is where we get, of course, the evolved form of Swinub, and arguably my least favorite of the line.
Oh,
like,
I
Swinub's
am
great.
not a Piloswine fan. I dislike Piloswine.
Yeah, I don't see anything to argue with there.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that wasn't the hot take. But
And literally in game, I wait until Ancient Power is there, go to Piloswine, give it a rare candy. Like, I skip past this as fast as I can.
Definitely. Yeah, it's like, all right, get out here. And Piloswine roars at Team Rocket, which is kind of terrifying. Charges in with takedown and is now like 10 times its weight. So just has a very satisfying attack here, honestly, because the submarine
like,
just
shatters.
Right? It just cracks into pieces.
It just crumbles. It just like as if it was made out of clay.
Yeah. And that's enough to send.
And then they blast off for the second time.
And James is like, is this the real blast off or is this a dream?
Yeah. This is about the only funny moment in this thing is Meta James being like, is this the real one? And then they're like, Jesse and Meowth are like, let's pull cheeks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then they all get mad. It's like the only sort of funny moment in this entire episode.
I think you're underplaying resting time, though.
Am I?
I thought that was the other prime funny moment.
I mean, it was.
Okay,
it made no sense.
True. This actually had like a whole beat to it. That's fair.
Right. This is like a Team Rocket moment instead of what did Opportunity just do? That's not a thing.
I really wish it would be, though.
No, this is the one and only time.
So, Cresselia struggling, according to closed captions, under the net. And and Jenny's like, oh, please help.
Yeah, also somehow, like, they didn't tell us how they got out from under the nets. Like, they decided it was time that they could just lift the nets and crawl out from under it. Like, now was a good time to do that.
Let's just, like, disappear.
Except for Cresselia's.
It's the only one. And Cresselia then just glows super bright, goes floating off towards the city. And Jenny's like, all right, we gotta go back and see what's going on there.
In now apparently the fastest boat that ever existed, because that thing is flying. They have to get all the way down the mountain to the boat, across, dock it, get up, and how slow does Cresselia move? Because they get to the island and they are literally like 2 feet behind it the entire time.
To be fair, Cresselia has a base speed of 85, so it's okay.
It doesn't care about terrain. It's flying.
But back at the island, they like magically catch up to this Pokemon flying over them. Because it took them like 20 minutes to get from the boat to the altar. So and as it glows right near the site where Team Rocket had set up shop, Darkrai comes out of the ground. It just floats on up and has a stare down with Cresselia. And as they're running towards them, our heroes are like, it's Darkrai! And then, of course, Dawn pulls out the Pokédex. So, third piece of evidence here that they have seen Darkrai before and know what it is. Because they all called its name immediately when they saw it, and the only other time they've seen it is in that movie.
Well, and in their nightmares.
That was the weird thing, that, like, in the nightmares, they gave that, like, unknown coloring to Darkrai, as if to make it like, oh, they don't know what this is yet, but they all clearly do, so...
And they've been talking about it this entire episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they were describing their nightmares, though, they were like, I saw a weird, spooky Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, me too! Right. And nobody's like, it's Darkrai!
Yeah. And Ash had the same nightmare, so he should have been like, oh yeah, it's definitely Darkrai. I've had this exact same nightmare before. They're all asking, why did it show up now?
Yeah, suddenly they're very confused why Darkrai and Cresselia would be here. Like, what's going on? This doesn't happen every year at this time.
So
As if to answer that, Darkrai starts to circle around the machine in the air, and Brock comes to the conclusion that the Nightmare Machine drew Darkrai here because of the electromagnetic waves that it was producing.
Ah, yes, science.
okay. So that's early. Does it mean it's not going to come again in a week? Is that off the table now? Because they already did it?
It kind of seems that way. I mean, they have the least epic legendary battle ever.
And
I think that's just it.
I sat there, I'm like, this cannot be it. You cannot have two legendaries literally just bounce into each other for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even use moves.
I know, it's just bouncing with some sparkles, and then Darkrai extends its skinny little legs and goes into the earth, and that is that.
Earth. Because because they decided Cresselia bounced better. Like, there's no even turning point. They just sort of slap into each other. And it was like, what an epic battle.
Yeah, Cresselia like floats higher and then lets out a bunch of light, and Darkrai's like, okay, I give up.
I'm gonna bring out my weird legs.
Like, okay, same time next year, got it? All right, bye.
Oh, he doesn't even leave. Like, he just sinks into the ground. Like, that's where you were. Like, what's the victory? Like, what? Are the nightmares just gone? Like, are you teleporting through the shadows? And Cresselia also just explodes into light.
Well, they're like, it's just like, it's going somewhere off to places we cannot even know the name of. And I'm like, it's heading straight for the moon. You know what the moon is called. You just called it the moon. It's heading straight to it's going to the moon. And then it explodes.
Okay. Here's the only...
I will say the explosion colors are very pretty. I did like those.
But why did it explode?
For the pretty colors, obviously.
Yeah. Pretty colors make nightmares go away. Clearly. Greg, the one
that has to be on a pillow somewhere. Pretty colors make the nightmare go
away. Okay. I just checked the moves that Cresselia can learn.
Is one of them explode into pretty color, make nightmare go away?
Basically, because it can learn the move Lunar Dance. The effect is the user faints, but the next Pokemon released is fully healed.
That's not the same thing. There's nobody else to heal. Darkrai didn't do anything other than bounce into Cresselia a few times.
It healed the island of its nightmares. That's literally the closest explanation I can give to what the heck it did in this moment. That explanation
is as exciting as the battle they just had.
True. I'm not going to defend it, but I'm like, this has to be the only thing they were going for with this bizarre scenario here. Yeah. And can I say, like, Darkrai going into the ground looked awful. Like, it just was the JPEG of Darkrai going downward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's like, okay, well, this picture holds still, and we just need to draw two lines, and then you just move the frame down.
Yeah, it's that was just jarring. But yeah, as Cresselia leaves, they're like, "All right, I guess we're gonna be free of nightmares now." Officer Jenny just doesn't seem to know anything. Like, in the beginning, she said Cresselia uses its mystical powers to prevent or cure the nightmares each year. But, like, is this it? Or is it just, hey, Cresselia just needs to hang out here at the same time that Darkrai's here, and we're all going to be good? There isn't even, like, a proper ending, because as Ash is talking about, like, all right, well, I'm going to start training for the gym battle next time. Or tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to get a good night's sleep so I can start training for my gym battle tomorrow. And I literally thought, okay, so there's another episode after this. and then
Right?
Amazon Prime stopped and it said next season. And I'm like, this was the end?
Yeah. And spoilers, the next episode is in the gym battle.
Great.
So, that is it for this season. We are done with episode 52. I'll go in first. I was kind of excited for this episode, looking at the preview and being like, hey, it's gonna be Cresselia, it's gonna be Darkrai. Maybe we'll get to explore the island a bit more and the myths behind Sinnoh. At the beginning, I was like, hey, if you just didn't do the middle part and explain more of what's happening at the end, that would have actually been good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just cut out the Team Rocket part, just go to like, hey, Jetty assumes there's a Darkrai, they find Darkrai, and they're like, okay, we need Cresselia because we can't be there or whatever. And Cresselia has some moment of being like, oh yeah, it uses its powers in a peaceful way to get rid of Darkrai, and then you don't have to deal with like this weird battle that we end up seeing. I think it's better than the previous episode, though. So I'm going to give it a 4. Carina, do you want to go?
What did I give the last episode? I gave it like a 4, didn't I? Like a 4.5?
3.5.
A 3.5? Okay, this episode
Yeah.
gets a 3. I did not like this one better than the last episode.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, this is a solid 3. It gets 2 points for its arresting time in the Team Rocket joke. That's the only thing that saves it from being a 1. There are at least things that I could latch onto and be like, okay, that was kind of funny.
I feel like the pretty sparkles are also like a solid quarter of a point there.
Mm-hmm. That's the only good animation we get.
Rainbow dust makes your nightmare go away.
I think I'm also boosting it a bit because I did like the movie references. But it also brought in a ton more questions of like,
I would give it points for that if it was at all consistent, and this is like the only time.
Yeah. It's just like, make it really well connected, or just don't. If we're gonna not be consistent and narratively satisfying with what you're doing here.
And I am still stuck on the fact that this was the season finale.
Yep.
I cannot believe this is how you ended the season.
It should have ended 2 episodes ago. Because that's when we beat Fantina and leave Hearthome.
Why couldn't they have swapped it? Like, why did we even need these? Like, put these before the Fantina thing. Like,
well, they're trying to still go in order, I guess, for like how the gyms work in the games. So they're like, yeah, let's leave Hearthome behind already. We've been here like 3 times, and time to get to Canalave City. Like, this is the interesting part. They get to Canalave City via blimp. Like, they just straight up, okay, we're gonna skip all the traveling that would happen between Hearthome and Jubilife to get here. And then they end it with 2 basically filler episodes.
Yeah, it's like it's just
such an odd choice.
It just underlines how little they cared about the anime during these seasons. Like the animation is subpar in a lot of episodes. Things don't even get backgrounds. Chimchar's head is gigantic for no reason.
That was one scene.
Darkrai is just a JPEG image that they drew legs on. Like, they just didn't care. And it really shows because they didn't even try. Like, they had a superb ending to season 1, and then they're like, oh, we have to do 2 more years of this? Look, we don't have the budget. Let's just throw some garbage out there. It's so frustrating because you can just tell that they aren't They are just trying to get through the anime. Like, they have 52 episodes they have to do, so get them done.
See, that's the thing, because there are some really strong episodes in this season, though. And they're mostly connected to Team Galactic. But then a lot of the other things that don't involve that, contest or gyms, just have this like weird tone to them where I'm like, yep, this is a syndicated show. But almost weirdly enough, as this show's been taken off of Pokemon TV recently, I've been trying to watch some other seasons past this, and I still kind of like these more. like a lot of the other episodes I see from these other seasons, it might just be the pick of what they're showing that week. Kind of feel like, okay, this, you only need to watch this episode and nothing else for this season, and that's it. While what I do like for mixed results, fair enough, is that a lot of these episodes do have callbacks and make me feel rewarded for watching previous episodes in them. And we're going to get more into this in our season review, but Carina, did you have any quick thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched like any of the other animes, so I don't really have anything for a reference for. But like, I think a recurring theme of this season in particular is just like, why is this happening, and why am I watching it? So yeah, just like not a lot of sense being made here.
Going into the trivia here, let me see. Yeah, a lot of it is just being like the references I made to the Darkrai movie that we see here. Again, Bobopedia notes, Dawn has a lunar wing, but still has nightmares. I don't know if Greg knows more about this. The English dub title for this episode parodies the successful romantic comedy thriller film Sleepless in Seattle.
Thriller film?
That's a comedy thriller film.
Isn't that like a rom-com or something?
It's a rom-com. There's nothing thrilling about Sleepless in Seattle. It's a rom-com.
Oh, Tom Hanks? Oh,
I mean, it's a good film, but it's not a thriller.
Well, go make that correction on Bobopedia then.
Who wrote that? And also, how have you not seen Sleepless in Seattle?
We're actual children, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. This is a 93 film.
I mean, it's played on TV a lot, like for free.
Really?
It's an incredibly popular film. It's actually a very good film for a rom-com.
Yeah, I had no clue. Let me go back to trivia, though. So, this is the second time a main character's Pokemon evolves in the same episode a legendary Pokemon has appeared in. The first time was Entei at Your Own Risk, where an Entei appeared, and Brock's Pineco evolved into Fortress. When Darkrai and Cresselia face off, one of the shots exactly matches the battle view from the games, albeit mirrored.
Them bouncing off of each other?
Apparently. I think this is like in the overworld. This happens.
Well, that would make sense if they're basing it on game animation and just want to be like, this is what it looks like on your DS. Look, they bounce.
Yeah. I don't remember this, but I guess that makes sense, having the sprites just like collide to show that they're battling. But if you're in the anime, don't do that. Like, what? Come on. Carina, Greg, how familiar are you guys with the Darkrai lunar wing plot from the games, which it takes place here at Canalave City?
I don't remember anything from the games.
Okay. As far as I remember, it involves a sailor's child being trapped in a nightmare, and the main character has to go with them to the Full Moon Island to get the lunar wing. And when they bring it back, that's how they're able to...
Oh, that's right. That.
Do you think it might have just been better for them to go with a plot like that.
Yes.
I think a lot of things would have been better than what they did.
That's fair. Yeah. It's weird when there's a very obvious narrative that they can go with from the games, like their source material, that clearly would have been smoother, but them not choosing to go with it.
Okay. In The Rise of Darkrai, a salesman sold a lunar wing to Dawn, saying it would make bad dreams a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Do we think the salesman was also making fake lunar wings?
Apparently.
Since it clearly did not protect Dawn.
I have to go with yes. I think she should go to court over this.
She doesn't need to go to court. She just needs to run out of the room going, arresting time!
Yeah!
That's how you start a trial, apparently, in Sinnoh.
Wreck that salesman.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go more into this season as a whole next time. Greg and Carina, thanks a lot for coming on this week and talking about it, because that was way more fun than the episode itself.
Yeah, thanks for having us on to complain about it for an hour.
Absolutely.
Anytime. And if people want to find you, where can they do that?
I am on Twitter. I am Pengumon.
Awesome. And Greg over at White Wing, correct?
Yep.
Cool.
At White Wing on Twitter.
Perfect. And I'm also on Twitter at Will Be Teasing, letting you know updates. My name is Will.
I'm Carina.
I'm Greg.
And we will see you in Sinnoh. Thanks for listening to the season. Stick around for our recap and have a good one.
Bye.